Oh, I can smell your raw dog. Oh.
It's because you made this farty food last night.
Oh God.
We're like a farting team on the mountain.
Okay, welcome to this week's episode. Wait, this is probably not what you're expecting. That's right, we're going to a 2-week schedule, back to kind of the normal schedule. This last run of episode a week was pretty crazy. We need a little bit more time to edit, a little bit more time to work on things, and a little bit more time to ski. So in place of that, we've got this bonus episode taking place right here in my garage. And we're going to be talking about gear, everyone's favorite subject. Specifically, skis, boots, bindings, kind of hard goods. All that other stuff we'll talk about in a later bonus episode. But before we get down to it, can I ask you to do one thing? Hit that dang subscribe button. Please. It helps. It helps a lot. Not just because I want like the ego and the self-inflation, but when I got to go pitch this to sponsors next year, one of the things I look at is how many subscribers you got, how many views you got. So in order to raise funds for next year, make this thing better, make the episodes better, make it more entertaining, raise the funds to do this again, please hit that subscribe button. It'll help. Okay, so let's get into it. We're going to talk about skis. First, I'm going to crack a beer because it's about that time. We're going to go with a Sufferfest repeat because this episode might take 2 beers. Well, no. Okay, so we're going to start from fattest to skinniest. First one we're going to go with is the Salomon QST 118. This was my preferred ski for the last like 5 years. I actually have skied on it less than normal because I've been skiing less POW than normal. Holy shit, this skiing is gonna suck. Because quite often to climb and ski these lines, you kind of have to have stability over powder conditions. But I still use these. I used them up in Alaska. I've used them in Utah. Still waiting for those good conditions. So they're twin rockered, so rockered in the tip and tail. They've got a wood core with a CFX carbon fiber flaxseed stringer that helps them keep dampened. They're 118 underfoot. They're one of the lightest skis in the class, so they're kind of built for this sort of thing, for touring in powder. Obviously, I used them when filming out of helicopters and off snowmobiles, but for what I'm doing this year, they're pretty damn good ski because they're pretty light for the size. I skied on a 192 because I'm a big guy, 6'2", and mainly been skiing on the MTN binding. I know people have been asking, like, where's the shift, what I've been doing. Well, I did ski on the shift. I definitely skied on this pair of skis. This is the exact one. This is last year's model. I didn't have the next year's model and in Utah in the first line, but I skied this on Mount Superior. So one of the things a lot of people ask is, why are you using the MTN binding over the shift binding? Well, a lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of these lines are really big. They are a long distance to get into and a lot of vertical. So I'm trying to shave weight. And one of the quickest ways you can shave weight is through bindings. But there are certain times when the weight is worth it. So Mount Superior, when I skied that, it was in powdery conditions. I wanted to ski fast. I wanted to charge hard. I knew I was going to be out racing Slough. The need for releasability in a binding was greater than the extra weight going up. So although I haven't skied on it much, lines like Mount Superior, only a 3,000 foot line, other lines of that sort in good conditions, I'm definitely going to be on the shift because it performs so well as a downhill binding, has the safety of a downhill binding, adds a little bit of weight, but it tours really quite well. Didn't get to ski on it too much this year because mainly we were trying to tick off big lines. So ended up kind of on this setup a little bit more. Like I said, skied this up in Alaska, skied with pin bindings. I mean, we were doing 13 miles and 6,500 vert, having an extra couple pounds of weight on your feet, that adds up pretty quickly. So I go with these pin bindings. Not quite the same performance as a downhill binding, but these ones in general have a lot of power transfer. They stay on your feet. What I really like about them is they're simple, very few moving parts, so they're not going to break, and reliability when you're deep in the backcountry is pretty essential. So then the next ski in the range that I use quite often, almost use it the most often, is the Salomon QST 106. This is by far the most versatile ski I've ever skied on. I've skied and summited Denali on this ski, but I also rip groomers at the ski resort on them. So like How's that for versatility? You can carve GS turns, but then you can also ski POW and variable snow off of the summit of a 20,000 foot mountain. They've got that perfect blend of control, of stiffness, but lightness to get up. They've got the kind of, to me, one of the perfect waist widths for a lot of variable conditions, meaning 106 underfoot. If it's POW, I can stay on top of it. If it's crusty and punch crusty, I can still stay on top of it. And then if it's hard pack, I can still get an edge in quite a lot easier than, let's say, a 118 underfoot. So it provides a lot of stability. It provides a lot of ease in multiple different conditions. And then it's fairly light for kind of its class and its size. So again, easy to go up. For next year, they've actually completely redesigned the 106. Mainly it's a whole new mold. And there was one thing that we really wanted. We really loved the 106, but we felt like the tail didn't have enough release ability in kind of crusty conditions or in powder conditions. So it's a whole new mold. They've got some tail rocker now, and these things release like a dream in all conditions. Essentially, it's a vastly improved ski. It takes all the qualities of the old QST 106 and then makes it a little bit more versatile because you can release the tail when you want. So for skiing steep couloirs, get that tail released, hop turns, all that kind of stuff. But then if you want to rail a big face, it's going to do well at that. So this is a ski I kind of ski on most often during this project. You've probably seen it quite often. And again, MTN binding, because this ski I'm definitely going to be taking on some of those bigger days, the 5,000 foot vertical days, maybe 10 miles of vert. So, or 10 miles, not a vert, but of distance. So yeah, that's kind of probably the ski I use most. Okay, and then the last ski that I've been using the most this year, one that I've actually never truly used before because I was always more of a primarily downhill skier and not worried about that up at all, is my first touring ski I've ever used, the Salomon MTN Explorer. I actually took my very first tour and my very first turns on this off the top of the Grand Teton. Good place to start, I figured. Anyways, so this ski, the MTN Explorer, you know, is different in that it's lighter, it's narrower than I normally use. It's designed to go up better than a QST line, something that I never kind of thought I would use. In fact, I texted a picture to my buddy Chris Rubin saying I got these skis, and all he texted back was, "You've changed, buddy, you've changed." I would agree with him. Things have changed. 95 underfoot is about the narrowest ski I've skied in like 10 years, but I've been loving this ski. And I will be honest, at first I didn't like this ski. Not this exact model, but some of the original MTN Explorers. They were a little too soft, a little too floppy. They just felt too much for the up and not for the down. Luckily, they've completely redesigned this ski. It's got a similar mold, but entirely different build. So what I've found amazing about this is the sidewall construction. It's got so much power underfoot that when you're on something steep, you're on something exposed, it's hard pack, you have full confidence, full edgeability. And then what they really improved on from the old models is this tail is as stiff as a rock. I swear, try this in a store, flex the heck out of it, and you will not get it to bend. So again, when you're in those variable, weird conditions skiing over exposure, you're gonna have confidence that you're gonna get onto that tail somehow and it won't go over the back and high side to your untimely fate. It's got rocker up front. It's got quite a wide shovel, so it still works kind of in softer snow. Especially punch crust I found is kind of the worst snow to deal with, but with rocker you can kind of stay on top of it. It'll kind of help you not punch into it as much, keep you in a little bit more control. So this ski I've been starting to ski a lot more. I skied it on the Grand Teton. I skied it on a couple other lines. When something like lightness comes into effect, when the distance of access is huge and the vertical is huge, you really want to start shaving those pounds off. Like on the Grand, we have packs filled with ropes and climbing gear, axes, crampons, all kinds of stuff like that. Your bag is 45 pounds. So if you're all of a sudden using skis that weigh like 2 or 3 pounds more than the other one, you're really going to be tiring yourself out. It's that whole principle of a pound on your foot is equal to 3 pounds in your pack. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard that from military guys or something. So trying to go light, this is the ski I choose. I've been quite loving this ski. And yeah, Rubens, I've changed because I like this ski. Oh, and last but not least, the S-Lab, the Salomon X-Alp S-Lab. This is what I did the Spearhead Traverse on. They weigh like what a chopstick weighs. They're so light. They're incredible. Yeah, if you want to fly uphill, use these. Ironically, these are something like, I don't know, 79 underfoot. That's considered a POW ski for skimo racers. They're usually in like the 60s or something like that. So this is Kilian Jornet's POW ski. Not quite my POW ski, but Kilian weighs probably like 70 pounds lighter than me. So yeah, it was fun touring around on him. You can really fly across long distances, but probably not going to pick them up too often. Okay, so boots. Well, you guys probably know if you pay attention, I modify the heck out of my boots. Boots are super, super personal. I've been kind of building and modifying my boots for the last like 6 years now. So I'm not going to show you those because it doesn't really matter, but I will tell you kind of the boots I do use. So 90% of the time I've been on the Salomon Mountain Lab, the MTN Lab. It's a boot we've had for about 5 years. Again, mines are personalized to my liking, but I'm going to be using this boot if I'm going to be skiing hard. So up in Alaska, I want some added performance. Pretty much majority of the lines actually I'm on this because I still like the downhill more than the uphill, and although these are heavier than something like this, which I'll go into, they still perform so well in the downhill and give me so much power and control, yet still tour easily enough and are light for their performance. I ended up on the Mountain Lab, sorry. And then this is a new boot for me. This is a boot I never thought I would ski on. This is the Salomon XL. You might recognize it looks similar to the Arc'teryx boot. It is similar with companies, all that kind of stuff. You know, they're all owned by the same people. So this is a very similar boot. This is built specifically for walking. It's got full range of movement front and back, which makes a huge difference for touring. Once I started touring in these, I realized like, oh man, having forward range of movement is so much easier. And I'm using these on all but the biggest days. So giant steps, that's what I used. For the Grand Teton, this is what I used. But when we did like the Middle Teton, you know, I did back to the Mountain Lab. So this is what I'm going to be using if I really am concerned about weight, if I'm really concerned about the up, if I really want to make it out there, and I'm not as worried about like ripping, charging, going fast downhill performance. I'm more worried about just like, hey, controlled skiing, get down this, all that kind of stuff. Again, I've modified it a little bit, stiffened it up for myself, did some other few things to it, but for the most part, I've actually been quite liking this boot. It's got some benefits to it. I mean, you can walk really far. I pretty much will only ski this boot with this ski though. So if I'm using this, the Mountain Explorer, I'm using this. But if I'm going up to the wider skis, to the QSTs, then I'm gonna be in the Mountain Lab. So yeah, that's my boot explanation. Lastly, yeah, you know how people on Instagram say like, people seem to always ask me about my skincare routine, and then they proceed to sell you an ad about their skincare company that sent them a bunch of lotion or something. Yeah, it feels really fake. Well, this isn't fake because honestly, the single biggest question I've gotten this year, the most questions, has been about my damn poles. I didn't know people cared about poles so much. These guys, like literally almost every time I post a video, people talk about these things. I don't even know the name of them, but they're carbon, they're from Salomon, and they're sweet to tour with. I don't use pole straps. I also mount a little GoPro mount up there, kind of grind it down, screw it in there, and then I can do my selfies like that. But mainly what I do like about these poles quite often is that they're light, they're carbon, they move up and down like any good touring pole should, but then you can shift your hand up and down this. So if you're going up a side hill, you're going to want your hand up here and a hand down here, down lower and up here. It just keeps your shoulders more level. You're not like doing weird stuff. So just quick to move up and down, good grip the whole time. Yeah, I don't know why you guys ask me about my poles, but there they are. They're Salomons. I don't even know the name of them. Look them up. Well, okay. That was the first gear bonus episode talking about this stuff. I do get a lot of comments and questions about it, so that's it. That's what I've been using for most of the season. Cheers.